What's up, everybody? It's your favorite hustler's favorite nerd. Today we are looking at the MMC Swindle from their Ocular Max upcoming Bruticus set. This is the second released in the line. It's on loan to me from Joel. And can you believe this dude knows I'm only getting the 2 arms, and he offered to let me keep the set until they're all released and then ship it back to him after I reviewed all of them and combined. I don't think I'm going to take him up on that. That dude deserves to have time with his toy, but I do appreciate the offer. It is noticed. That being said, we got 3 modes to go through with this guy. I was pleasantly surprised by the first release, so I want to see how this one shapes up. But in order to do so, accessories. He comes with 1 alternate face. There's a point of contention with this figure where the paint line was used across the nose instead of underneath like it's supposed to be. Like this and this are supposed to be the same color, but this and this are the same color. And as a result, some people have gotten very upset about it, and I understand. It is an oversight. However, MMC has said that they are going to replace this in the future with a properly painted head. So that being said, let's take a look at what we got. The paint is done well. Silver on the eyes, silver on the face and purple on the eyes. The purple is a metallic. Flat plastic for the base of the head, decent sculpt work, etc., etc. Nice expression. He does come with his signature sort of weapons. We have the 1 rocket launcher with the end painted silver, and this swivels. It might even detach, but it doesn't look like it wants to. And then the handle does extend or collapse. It comes with the kind of long blaster, so to speak. We got some paint on here for a couple accents, which looks nice enough. And then we have the adapter piece. So with it collapsed, you can put this in one side and then this in the other, and you can mount it with the square peg between a notch. So you just split apart this back end, have the tire off, of course, and then put it in and close it back up, and then you can articulate these. It looks nice, and that part here swivels, so that all works nicely. All of this fits on the back of the leg mode. The 2 side cannons peg into the side pieces here. This clips on there, and then this piece has 2 hangers that insert right there. The long rifle can be pegged into his tire. His rocket launcher he'll hold just fine. He comes with a spare tire. We have gunmetal silver on the inside, and then it's just the flat black plastic and flat beige plastic. That can clip on right here in truck mode. The tire will also peg into 2 clips right there to be stored in combined mode. You can also utilize the spare tire in the back on robot mode. And we'll talk about the vehicle mode. So, rolls like a champ. I like the seats. I like the purples. Some of this purple is painted. Some of it's just flat plastic, and it matches very well. Not perfect, but very well, which is nice. Then we have the silver and translucent plastics here at the front. Some more metallic kind of paints there below. The tires are all painted the same as the spare. Couple little bells and whistles. What am I doing? There on the back. So all that stuff is nice. Cleans up like a champ underneath. Steering wheel looks good. It does rotate a bit. This piece here, this windshield, it's tight. So just use caution. I am very scared. It's a tight tolerance. Just use caution when manipulating it because it is a translucent plastic. Let's see what else. There was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, yes. So back here is the only part that looks a little unclean. I can't help but think possibly due to having the whole combiner element involved in the bot, which appeals to some folks, which is fine, but I think that might be a sacrifice that came with that territory. So give and take, right? But overall, pretty good. Next of all, Tiger Tracks. Somebody recently said, can you stop using Tiger Tracks? It's getting old. No, I cannot. Let's get them transformed. I've taken all the accessories off. So untab this piece down here, and you want to then use that to kind of leverage this other piece, get that way out of the way. Get the steering wheel out of the way and untab the seats from the bottom. Actually, I'm not even sure if it's a tab. It doesn't appear to be, but get them up and out of the way. You gotta angle the steering wheel there. That will allow you to slide the lower legs down. Separate the front fenders from the front of the vehicle, and they're tabbed in there pretty good. And then you gotta separate these arms from underneath. They kind of come back, but I'll tell you once again, it's not the most user-friendly thing in the world. Let's see if we can't get that piece to move. I mean, I can see the piece it is. There, good grief. Spin the waist 180, and then, unfortunately, we gotta tuck the arms back into the same place where we just had to fight so hard to get them out. So just fix what you have just done. And to be fair, right? Because I'm about being fair. It was much easier to get back together than it was to get apart. I'm gonna finish this step off camera with just a few little tabs and stuff. Then the front bumper, lift both sides up towards the front, and then you have to split them back and collapse them back down. I meant for that to look far more elegant than what it did. For this bottom plate, I can't tell from the instructions where it's supposed to go. So if you have it here, this gray piece has 3 locations it can go, right? Up 1, straight out, down 1. Down 1 is the most clean, but in the instructions, it looks like it's sitting flush, but then it doesn't really sit flush against the back. You can move it up and it'll sit flush, but it's not pegged into anything, so I'm not entirely sure. This part just about drove me insane. I don't think the instructions cover it. So lift this part up here, lift this part up here. That's covered in the instructions, as is this. Flip these pieces up. Once again, another little tight tolerance there. And you want to flip these side panels down. And then it says to just collapse, right? Just collapse. But you can't. In order to get the clearance, you have to untab these pieces. Because this notch here will prevent the legs from sliding down. So once you have that, it should. Let's lift these pieces up too. Just get as much of this out of the way as you can. There. But it's just, the steps just aren't covered extremely well. So then we got to do it for this side as well. What's holding her up? So I'll fiddle with this one and see if I can figure this out, but yeah, it's a pain. Finally got it. So now let's collapse all of our stuff. So we'll collapse the windshield and be very careful. We'll collapse these 2 pieces here that have the headlights that you probably should do before you collapse all this stuff, because the tolerance, once again, is not great. Collapse the feet, or should I say feet. And we can put in these here on the back, and these can collapse against there. Now these 2 we left open so that we could pull down, hopefully, on the feet, which is pulling everything apart, flapping the foot out, so to speak. And then the heel, you want the gray piece down like that, so that that little notch meets, and then the foot meets there. And we're gonna do that for this side. So double hinge down. And I'll put all these back together. Then you can collapse these back. You have to open up the hood, fold that in, resecure. I'll clean it up, we'll take a look at it. And here it is. And it's solid. I'll give it that. This part here is a little lacking. But like, I don't know, is it terrible if you just close this up and stick it under there? Because then at least that's compact. You know, I don't think that looks terrible. But I don't know, preference. I don't think it's supposed to be there. It's supposed to be kind of up here, but it doesn't look as finished to me. I don't know, personal preference perhaps. And I guess we could even take these pieces here. I think the instructions had them up, but you could take them and fold them down, and that would even clean up the back of it a little bit. So, I mean, it's clean and it looks nice. You're gonna get, you know, a little bit of an ankle tilt up, you know, a little bit of an ankle tilt down, a little bit of a rocker, and then he's got special shoes that he can wear, right? That can get him even more. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty impressive. It's incredibly smart, is what it is. You know, it's just, you know, it's not the design in and of itself that's frustrating me at the moment. It's a really clever design. Size comparison wise, there it is next to Mixmaster, so a good bit shorter. About the same width though. And now robot mode. So we're gonna kind of loosen up some of these panels here just to have free access. A lot of this stuff kind of keeps everything, you know, clipped in and tightened up. So we're just gonna loosen everything to hopefully make our life easier. So we're gonna loosen this stuff here in the back. We're gonna loosen up these just so we can have free access. And that should allow us, good night. Let's split. There. It's tight, Mac. And then we're gonna extend these legs. These knee pads fold up and actually keep the knee in place. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll close these clips up on the back. And that was there. And we'll fold these around as well back to the front. We're gonna collapse the feet. I have found that either pushing against a hard surface or actually grabbing this tab here and sliding it up makes it a little easier, and then put these back in place. On the back, we're gonna fold these two panels up, and then we're going to break that connection there and slide this back up so that the heel spur now works for the robot. And it's just a tight joint, which is par for the course, but that's what you're looking for right there. And then for the other side, we're just gonna go up and over, and then keep that piece down and that piece up. Once again, for the front, we're gonna kind of loosen up some of this stuff. So have this piece out. I don't know if these two pieces need to be connected or disconnected, but you can just have them out and about. And we need to do the same thing that we did before. So split the front fenders and then try to fight with these arms to get them out, which is a pain. There's one. Just trying to like loosen up some of it. There's the other. And separate the arm from the flank piece, and you can wrap the arm back around the opposite side. So we'll do that. And we can flip these on the opposite side. This tab here will fill in that space. Make sure your fender is collapsed around the tire. It usually happens naturally. Pop the hood again. These two pieces come around, and you have to make sure that they're kind of lined up just right to fill in that space right in here. I don't know if you can see that or not. There's a little wedge space, and that beige piece, the mustard piece, needs to kind of go right in there. And there's just, it just takes a little bit of finesse is all. This back piece here has two flaps that will fold in. After doing so, if you take this piece that connects the windshield and separate it from the back and give it clearance, you can fold the head through this opening here. Make sure the chest comes around to the front and spin this back plate 180 degrees so that the shoulders are now sitting more in line with the collarbone as opposed to the hips. Rotate 180. That'll put the windshield in the right place. Then you got to rotate the head around to the opposite side. And at this point, you can begin to collapse the waist back down onto the body. You can collapse the steering wheel, and you can collapse the windshield, and you can tab this piece back in. Bring the tire pieces around so that they fill in the flank section on both sides, and then slide those pieces in to fill out the front chest. And there we go. And on the back, just fold this purple piece down and then fold this piece up. And then the arms are pretty straightforward. They double hinge down, spin them around so that the elbow is oriented properly. Lift this flap up here, spin the hand out, close the flap. Same for the other side. Fold it down, spin around, flap up, fist out. Phew. I'll get them cleaned up. We'll take a look at them. Let's talk about the figure. So the head is on a ball peg. You get up to there, down to there, and a swivel. And you also get a confused dog look. And it's the same paint deco as the other one. This expression seems inappropriate for the character, but I suppose they wanted a more menacing or mean looking one. I would much prefer the other one. But, you know, that's up to you. You had the option, so that's nice. Waist swivel, no issues there. And then we have some of the purple paint that we've already talked about. The shoulders are on universals. Very tight joints, get you out 90 degrees and around. Bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, gets you a great range. Wrist swivel, thumb is on a baseball peg. The fingers are individually articulated, but all have typewriter expression. And then they did the smaller wheel on the shoulder to kind of do the mass shifting stuff, which is a nice touch. Same paint deco we talked about before, except we do see that the beige here is like the mustard color. This is painted, that's plastic. It doesn't quite match up. And I think I would prefer if it was painted. Well, obviously, I would prefer if it was painted, but I think I prefer that painted hue. All right, so we have the hip skirts. They'll get up and out of the way for our universal joints for our hips, which are tensioned out to the side for the full Van Damme, forward and back for the full Monty. Thigh swivels at a cut joint. The knee is single hinged and gets you 90 degrees. I think that's fine. It sits up a little high, you know, in order to kind of deal with all of that. So that's kind of, it's a little weird when his knees are bent fully, but when you're going to have him with the full bend, so I think it's okay. For the ankles, you have it's a toe tilt down, basically, and then a toe tilt up. Actually, you get the whole ankle tilt up, to be fair. And a rocker, a little bit limited, but you have it. So that is, God bless him in a nutshell. There he is from the back. So there he is side by side with the Unique Toys one. So about the same height for one. But secondly, this is almost a perfect example of everything I've been talking about. Now, I do prefer the colors here. The colors are better. This is more real world though. So here's the thing about all of this. I do think if you didn't have these flaps here, it would look smoother, thus making it more cartoon accurate. It's a very cartoon accurate Swindle, so the things that aren't cartoon accurate tend to stick out like a sore thumb, in my opinion. These flaps are mainly to handle the combiner feet. No combiner feet, no problem. It would look even more cartoon accurate. This one doesn't look cartoon accurate. This one looks cartoon inspired. And honestly, I prefer the look of this, even though this is more cartoon accurate. That's a personal preference thing, for sure, but it's just a perfect example of kind of what I've been talking about recently. This reminds me still of like the side swipe era of Masterpiece. This is a step towards the modern era, but because of some of the choices they made, it doesn't quite seem as clean as some of the modern stuff. But they're the same size at the very least. And there he is with Make Toys Starscream. Sorry, I'm not doing a collage today for final thoughts. I'm just running out of time. But you'll get the final thoughts nonetheless. Negatives-wise, the most problematic thing about this figure are the tolerances. The side pieces that come out from the hood that wrap the arms around. The sliding pieces in the legs. The sliding pieces in the feet. The universals on the shoulders. Not to mention the relatively loose head on the ball peg in robot mode. Just feast or famine. That's an objective criticism. But I have another. This thing does a great job of getting a lot of those cartoon accuracy points. But where it loses it, in my opinion, mainly due to incorporating the all-in-one combined element of Bruticus, which it kind of feels like they've double backed on anyway to put out the Bruticus shoot. That's not to take anything away from the engineering. It's incredible in regard to how they figured it out. Something needs to be said for that. Someone needs to recognize it, and I certainly do. It's also a bummer that they messed up with the paint on the face. At least they're fixing it, so that's a positive. But like if you only wanted Swindle, that would be a bummer. But I think most of us get the whole set. There's also some articulation limitations with the ankle rocker. I believe in both the combined and robot mode. No ab crunch, which is kind of becoming a standard for better or worse. I'd say for better. It's growth and evolution, right? But we don't know how old this design is necessarily. I know it went through some changes. And of course, my feelings on most masterpieces from MMC, it could use more paint. Positives wise, there's a lot to say as well though. The materials feel great. Strong, durable plastic, standard, par for the course with what I expect from Mastermind Creations. Where it is painted, it's painted well, but it's not painted much. Most of the articulation works well, and it even has a reverse butterfly that I failed to mention while going over the figure. The alt mode looks great, the combined mode looks clean, and the robot mode has a ton of character that comes through in it. Definitely feels like Swindle, definitely gives you those vibes. Solid sculpt work, but the sculpt work does lose consistency as a piece between the upper body and the lower body. They don't look like they necessarily belong to the same body, from above the knee and below the knee to be specific. It's fairly priced, and the engineering is truly remarkable. How they got those feet to work and all that, the design, it's something to take note of, but it may have come at a cost. Whether or not that cost benefit was ultimately worth it remains to be seen, but I can recommend this on its own, but I'm not sure it's as strong as Vortex. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.